What if you wanted to use alien computer voices like these in your productions? I'll show you how to make them. Hello, I'm Ray the Rich. Welcome to this small tutorial video in which I will make a tiny VCV Rack patch that will sound a bit like alien voice chatter on a space radio. So here we go. I'm using VCV Rack as a VST plugin inside of my Digital Audio Workstation, Ableton Live. But you could also do this with the standalone version of VCV Rack, of course. I'm using only 3 modules, and I put them on the screen already for your convenience and mine. First off is the Macro Oscillator 2 by Mutable Instruments. This is a software copy of their Plaits module, which was, and it still is, very popular. Then I'm using a VCF, which is a filter to cut off some of the high frequencies of the voices that we're going to generate. I added Plateau as a reverb plugin. Here's the audio loopback to my Digital Audio Workstation, so I can record this and you actually can hear this. Then I added 3 of Bog Audio's Walk 2 plugins, or modules, I should say. And you see these little squiggly thingies crawling on the screen, and they will matter to us in a moment. And last, I added a Quantizer module by VCV themselves, also free, and you will see why. So the Plaits module is the oscillator in this setup, and it will be our sound generator. And it already generates a sound by default if we patch the output to the input of the audio module, so it goes into the DAW, and I open up the volume. You hear the default sound that this Macro Oscillator 2 makes. And I can wiggle it a bit by changing the frequency, for example. And the timbre, the morph, and the harmonics. So this is straight out of the box. Well, what I actually want to use today is this lower speech synthesis. And you can get there by pressing this button until the green light lights up the speech synthesis module. Now I will lower the frequency. Now if I change the timbre, you get these throat-like singing sounds. And with the morph, we can actually scroll through different syllables of synthesis speech. So by combining them, and also changing the harmonics, for example, so we get different banks of sounds. So, as you can hear, by changing these knobs, we get kind of the radio chatter we're after. But I'm not going to do that by hand. Are you kidding me? So here is where these Bog Audio Walk 2 modules come in. Because the movement on this screen of the tiny blobs is what can make these knobs move by themselves. So let's try it. I'm gonna open the volume just a tiny bit. I don't want to make it too annoying, so I'll keep it low volume. And I'm gonna get the, look, this is an X and a Y axis. The blob is moving in all directions across these axes. But what I want is take the output of the X axis and patch it into the timbre. And by setting these knob to a higher value, the X movement of this blob will change the timbre more or less. I set it to 1, which is the maximum value, so the movement of this blob in the X directions will have a maximum effect on the timbre of the sound. And I will set it in the middle, so X can move into the negative and the positive, so this timbre can move both directions automatically now. We can do the same for morph. I can set it in the middle position, but if I get the X output of the second walk module and patch it into the morph input here and set this to the max, we now hear that not only the timbre but also the morph value, so the words chosen, is being randomized. So we've got some kind of chatter going on already. Now, I find this sound a bit harsh, so instead of patching the output of the Plaits module directly into our audio, I'm gonna let it go through a filter. And I take the low pass output of this filter, so only the lower frequencies are being let through. And now with this cutoff, we can change how high of the frequencies maximum go through to the audio that we hear. And I mean, we could even automate this, or any knob, anything that has an input or output, anything can be automated. But let's just set it here so we don't hear the harsh high frequencies. So there's definitely an alien talking, but he's talking in a very monotonous voice because the pitch of his words doesn't change, only when we turn this frequency knob. I'm not going to do that by hand, so we use the third walk module, and we're going to patch the X output of that to the voltage per octave. Now the pitch of the chatter will change according to the X value of this walk module. And we don't use the Y outputs of all these three, so we could set the scale of the Y to 0, so visually we are not being distracted by the blob moving up and down. It will only go across the X axis now. Okay, that's cool, but I mean, aliens, shouldn't they be in space? I think so. So I'm going to disconnect the chatter line and insert it into the input, the left input of the Plateau module, which will add a reverb. And it only needs a left input. It will spread it automatically across the outputs. So the left output will go to our audio. And so does the right. And this Plateau reverb will now spread out the audio that was mono into a stereo, wide, spacey sound. I can lower the wet value. to remove a bit of the reverb. But I can also make it wetter to make it more spacier. But I want to kind of still hear the words, so I'll keep the wet value, let's say on 35-ish. Doesn't matter so much, it's all according to your own taste. So, if we want to change like the speed or of the changes in the words, we can use this rate knob on all the 3 walk modules. And you will see this blob start moving from left to right way more often. Let's turn it up on the second module as well. So if we make the rate of the second faster, it will change words faster. And if we change the rate of the third walk 2 module, it will give us a faster change of the pitch of the voice. Well, the pitch can go really low and really high. Maybe we don't want that deep or that high-pitched voice, so we can change the scale of the third walk module. So it stays a little bit closer to the center. So it will hover around a bit more around the center now. So you can change this around. What if you want to include these voices into a song you made? Maybe you want to have the aliens sing instead of talk. Well, what we can then do, this third walk 2 module changes the pitch of the voices, and it changes it now in a free way. What if we take the output and make it go through a quantizer first? This will scale the pitch of the voice to semitones, not just any value can go through. It will always be rounded to a semitone, to a half a fold. And take the output and put that into the input of the Plaits module. And now if I right-click on the Quantize module and go to the presets, let's say my song is in a major scale. So the voice may go up and down in pitch, but it will always be in key with my major song production. We can just change that. You can also press the keys that you want to hear and which you don't want. At least that is supposed to be how it works. Let's pick a different preset. Oh, there we go. Now I picked a minor scale. For some reason, the radio chatter has... So we have now a quantized alien computer voice that could be used inside of a song even. So here you go, VCV Rack Pro, used to create alien computer voice chatter. Thank you very much.